and turning my heart of stone into a heart of flesh again. And a part that came with that over the last like 6 to 7 months or so is like sonship as well. An understanding of like, okay, I think there's some, like, we don't have to get into it here because I think it opens up a whole nother topic, but I think there's something about sonship that informs manhood.
It's crazy.
That is just such a key thing. But yeah, and us just waking up to, not even just waking up, but receiving the authority, as you said, that comes from sonship, and the fact of like, basically like, hey, like, we're not servants, like, we're sons, and there's beauty that comes with that.
That's crazy you say that. So there's one of my I look at him as a big brother, Ezekiel, and we've been doing a lot of stuff. Ezekiel, shout out to Ezekiel, John, Darius, all those people, Will, Reg. We have been talking, just he kind of had this heart for like men being, in a real kind of community together. And so, we got together, got a bunch of guys, long story short, as we were kind of developing like what we're going to talk about, sonship has been like, that's been the thing for like the last year and a half. It's free sons, free sons. That's kind of like the theme. And it comes from this idea that it's John 8, where, Jesus is like, what place does a servant have but a son? Man, a son. And so it is the freedom, right? Because when the prodigal son came back, the father went and met him, right? He went and met him. He didn't wait for him to get to the door. He ran as soon as he saw him. That is the reaction that God has had for us throughout time. Sin came and the relationship was broken. He took off. Right? We see the laws, Leviticus, all these things, Hosea, all these things are God literally chasing us down. And the sacrifice that Jesus gave afforded us real adoption. And so this ability to now operate as children again. Because before, we were having to do all these things to continually stay in the good graces of God. Sacrifices. And, even the intricacies of when we read Leviticus, what they had to do. You know what I'm saying? Like, I went through Leviticus for the first time recently with New Deal. And it just was eye-opening what we had to do. And then to think about how we could press pause and get on our hands and knees and be at the feet of God. Like that. We have been given, in part, this space back in the house. And I think that freedom sometimes gets missed because we're so used to it, right? We're so used to being able to say, all right, bow your heads and pray. All right, Lord, forgive me for cussing my coworker out. Fam, they used to have to go through like an 8-hour process to get forgiveness for that one. You know what I'm saying? Like they used to go get the goat, go get the quail, go. And it was so specific, right? You couldn't offer this for this sin, but you could offer for this sin and this. And it's what sonship gives you is a freedom that comes through relationship. Like, you're not going to let anybody in that house. If I didn't know you, or you guys didn't invite me, I came, knocked on the door and said, hey, can I come in and record a podcast with you guys? You'd be like, I don't know, bro. It's kind of weird. But the intimacy of being allowed into somebody's home, what place does none. But a son has one forever. The intimacy that we now have gives us the ability to move freely. Right? You look at Jesus and you look at a man who was in part a fugitive. And bro was out here teaching from boats, teaching in the temple courts where they knew he was, right? And what's crazy is a lot of times if you go back and look, I think it may be in Luke or Matthew. There's a few specific times where it was like they record and say, hey, they were looking for Jesus and he slipped away. I think Jesus understood that they were looking for him, but he didn't stop what he was doing because he understood who sent him. And he knew like his time would not come before the Lord deemed it so. And I think that's the freedom that he talks about in John 8, where he's like, yo, like, I know where I come from and who sent me. I know, who you are. I know you're an agent of lies. You're an agent of darkness. You acting just like your father. But I think the ability to operate as sons gives us that freedom to say, I'm going to move, I'm going to go about my life in such a way that screams who God is and how good he is. And that's the only thing I'm worried about. My protection, my provision, my life has already been sealed. It's already taken care of. So I don't have to worry about, day to day. And so, man, that's crazy that you brought that up, because that's literally all we've been talking about for a year and a half.
Thank you, Lord. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think even for anybody listening, I mean, you practically went through the old and brought in the new. It's 1 John 3, verse 1. It says, "Beloved, one manner of love has the Father bestowed upon us, that we should be called children of God."
Yeah.
If there is, if you guys have caught on a couple of times, whenever I end people's introductions, I always introduce them as children of God. That's the number one thing that we are, outside of any other thing, that's intentional. Right. And it's a reminder, for all of us in our trying to figure out and go through this process of life. Yeah. That's who we are. We're children of God, and it's a privilege, right, to be just that. And it's a high privilege for us to be just that. So, the conversation kind of goes all over the place, and then we get to these real moments as well. And, so, yeah, we're grateful to the Lord that he invited us into his family. As many as believed in him, to them he gave the right to become children of God. It's not through perfection. It's not through performance. It's through belief. As many as believed, to those he gave the right. So sonship is a right that's given. It's given through belief. Right, it's available for us. It's available for you. It's available for each and every single person. So I hope your relationship with the Lord, it's one with from a place of intimacy, as you've heard us share a couple times. It's one where you can come in the house, because every time I go to my parents' house, I have a key. I can walk in and I'm welcomed every time I go in. If a stranger was to do the same thing, it would be weird. Right, and in the Lord's house, he welcomes us as sons and daughters. So hopefully that's a message, something that you are able to take away from that as well. I know you probably